Hi, I'm Donald McIntyre, Senior Editor at the ETC Cooperative. This is the Ethereum Classic course, Class 17. What are private keys, public keys, and addresses? In the first class of this course, we learned what is public key cryptography, and in the last few classes, we saw how Ethereum Classic works. In this class, we will review the concepts of public key cryptography again, and then we will focus in the next few classes on how to manage your addresses and crypto assets in ETC. The topics we will cover are: what are private keys, public keys, and addresses, this class. The difference between wallets and addresses, class 18. What are raw private keys, private key JSON files, and secret passphrases, class 19. What are custodial and non-custodial wallets, class 20. What are hardware and software wallets, class 21. And what are hot and cold wallets? That's going to be in class 22. Public key cryptography. As we learned in the first class, the way public key cryptography works is that there is a cryptographic mathematical function that transforms a very large number into another very large number. The first number is a secret or private key, and the resulting number, when passing the private key through the function, is the public key that may be known by anyone. It is very easy to generate the public key, but by knowing the public key, it is practically impossible to figure out the private key. This system is what is used now for the account system in blockchains such as Ethereum Classic, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. So you have a very large number like this one. It's a hexadecimal number. This is the secret, the private key, or the secret password that controls your public key on the blockchain. I'm going to explain now in the next few sections. Starting with this number, you pass it through the cryptographic mathematical function. This is done by the wallets, and they generate the public key, which is your address, as I am going to explain. So the secret is that it's very easy using this cryptographic mathematical function to generate the public key, but because these public keys are on the blockchain and anybody can see them and their balances and the crypto assets under them, it would be a security hole or a security threat if people could figure out your secret key or your private key just by knowing your public key. But that's not possible, because using the same cryptographic mathematical function, it is extremely difficult for any computer, for all the computers in the world for that matter. They would take thousands of years to figure out the private key. Your public key is your address on the blockchain. The public key is your address on the blockchain. Address is just another name for your public key. Some people call these addresses accounts, but this is a misnomer, as we will see in the next section. The way it works is that your address in ETC is only controlled by your private key. So when you have the private key of an address on the blockchain with a balance of ETC, you have exclusive access, possession, and control of that ETC. So this is the same private key as before. It passes through a mathematical function. It generates a public key, and this public key is what we all call addresses. But some people call them public keys, so it's perfectly fine to call them public key or addresses. What is wrong is to call them an account. We're going to see why. Your address and your crypto assets. As an analogy, we could say that the address is like a bank account, but on the blockchain. However, the bank account represents what the bank owes you, so you have no control over it. This is why calling an address an account is a misnomer. So basically, when you have a bank account, it's not the same as an address on the blockchain, because a bank account is basically an account where the bank keeps track of how much they owe you. You actually do not have your money or whatever are your assets in a broker, for example, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. They hold them and they have control and access to them. They give you access and permission to access your own wealth, but it's stored in their systems. When we're talking about the blockchain, it's an address because it's controlled by the private key and nobody else. You have exclusive control. Nobody else has access to your assets. It's impossible for any other, because of public key cryptography, what I mentioned before, and its security. It's impossible for anyone to have access to your address. So you have exclusive control and custody of your ETC when you have your private keys. Your address is completely under your exclusive control and no one else has access to it. This is the major paradigm change brought by the blockchain industry. Under that address is where crypto assets are sent by others, received by users, and stored. The only way to access or send crypto assets to other addresses is to sign transactions using the private key. With regards to keeping your ETC secure, it is important to know that because now you are in control, if you lose your private keys, then you may lose your ETC and other crypto assets. That's the trade-off. The blockchains transfer absolute control to you. Banks, they grab absolute control and they separate it from you. Because we have a website and a password and we can see our account and send money and do things, is an illusion. The banks have total control of your assets, and we have seen in recent banking crisis that when the banks go under, you lose your money. In the case of the blockchain industry, you have responsibility of the custody of your assets. Nobody else has access, so they will never be confiscated, lost, and they don't represent a debt of an institution or something like that. So they're always going to be there. The only thing is that you need to understand that if you lose your private keys, or if somebody steals your private keys and they steal your assets by transferring them, then it could be a permanent loss. Nobody's going to be, digamos, bailing out the blockchain like governments bail out banks. So that is a trade-off of the immense security that blockchains have, that now you are responsible for the security of your assets. You are in control, therefore you are responsible. Address formats in different blockchains. As we also explained in the first class, although all blockchains use the same public key cryptography model for users to manage and control their assets, the formats of the addresses may vary. For example, Ethereum Classic and Ethereum public addresses are identical because they are both fully compatible under the Ethereum Virtual Machine standard, and both share the same formats. This means that the same private and public keys may be used on both blockchains. However, in Bitcoin, the design choice was that the public key had to be processed with an additional function to transform the public key into a special base 58 number to make it more human readable and avoid the confusion of some special characters. Thank you for watching this video, Ethereum Classic course, class 17, what are private keys, public keys and addresses. And to learn more about Ethereum Classic, please go to ethereumclassic.org. Thank you very much.